Hello and welcome to Action Playbook Live. I am Gilles Gallant, and you are watching the NFL pregame betting show here every Sunday morning at the Action Network. We cover a lot. We got player props, touchdown bets, parlays, got a lot of weather going on in some of these games. So we're not just going to be talking about player props. We got to talk about the sides and totals and the markets and how they're being impacted by the weather. Nick Giffen, he's going to join us to talk about the luck rankings for Week 14, which games we should be targeting for an edge. And of course, Evan Abrams, our director of research here at Action Network, will get us up to date on those weather moves and market moves for Week 14. And Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon, they're going to join me here. We're going to give out our favorite props that we like for Week 14. But if you want to tail the bets that we're giving out, easiest way, quick slip links in the YouTube chat. We're going to be dropping those links in the chat after every pick we make, and then you could get that bet as soon as possible. Also, if you're watching on X or Twitter, welcome. Playbook's going to be tweeting our picks from the show, so if you're watching that way, follow Playbook and get the bet slips from there. Now, we've got a couple bets here, but I just want to mention one final thing, Action Pro. If you want access to all of Action Pro projections, make sure to sign up for an annual subscription because access includes exclusive player prop picks from the entire Action Network team, anytime touchdown projections as well. Sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today. Use POD20, that's the code, at sign up. One more time, that's POD20 for $20 off. All right, let's get started with some player props. And Kerner, I see right now quite a few props you've already have logged in the Action app. And this one is a guy that I think you're pretty high on. What are we looking at for your prop for Week 14?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Luther Burden over 3.5 receptions. I got this yesterday at minus 119. I still like it at minus 148. I think he gets 4+ catches today. I think he's still being overlooked a bit because he was a second round pick. Many considered, a first round talent, but he just laying on a team with a ton of pass catchers already. They don't throw for many yards. So it was kind of a tougher landing spot to see him like really break out in year one. So he's had a slow start, and he opened up as the wide receiver 4 behind Olamide Zaccheaus, which wasn't great. But he recently just passed him up, so he's a top 3 receiver now. But Roma Dunze and DJ Moore have been healthy all season, but this is the first game where one of them is out. Roma Dunze is out, of course, so we should see Burden operate as a top 2 wide receiver today. And really, that's been the issue with him because he's seen a target on 23% of his routes this year, so he's commanding a high target share. But his playing time's been capped at like 60% routes run rate. But I think today it could be over 80%. So that's the next step for his breakout, in my opinion. And this is a tougher matchup today against the Packers. It's going to be freezing cold. But even more reason to leave him on the field because, if Ben Johnson's like rotating personnel out a ton, they got to go have that big overcoat. Just leave him on the field, right? Keep him warm. So I think he's going to be out there potentially over 80% of Caleb's dropbacks. And he's the type of player they just like to get the ball in his hands. Last week we saw them run that pop pass play to him where that's 100% chance he's going to get a catch on that. So this is the market I prefer him in, and this is a potentially a rare trailing game script for the Bears. They're 7-point dogs. The Packers are a luck side, so I'm expecting Caleb to need to throw a little bit more, and this could be a breakout game for Burden. So I think he's a really good bet to catch 4+ balls a day.
Yeah, and I think this is one of your guys. This is like the flag plant guy, like one of these, like Isaac Tesla was another one, Luther Burden as well. I mean, we just saw Tesla get that touchdown on Thursday. Now you're on Luther Burden over 3.5 receptions with Rome Odunze out this week against the Packers. All right, Raybon, you are up and looking at the prop you got this week. I actually know this guy. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, we're going Tony Pollard under 49.5 rushing yards against the Browns. And I know it's bad weather. We expect them to run the ball, but this Browns run defense has been really good. Number 2 in DVOA, number 1 in adjusted line yards allowed, and number 3 in running back yards per carry at 3.7. And the Titans, ever since Tajay Spears returned, Pollard has been averaging just 40 yards rushing. He's had 36.3 average his last 7 games, 44 or fewer in 5 of his last 7. And going up against this Browns D is just not going to be easy. And they've been passing about 12% over expected. So even if it's one of those bad weather games, the Titans could still pass more than you'd expect for a team that is in that kind of situation. So going with Tony Pollard under 49.5 rushing yards. They only allowed 53 to McCaffrey on 20 carries last week.
Yeah, and I mean, I could see a lot of 3-and-outs for the Titans today. I mean, the total just keeps going down in this game at 33.5 now. So Tony Pollard under 49.5 rushing yards. That is going to be Raybon's pick. I'm going back to that Bears-Packers game, and this isn't necessarily to conflict with Sean's pick. I still think Luther Burden will get 4 or more receptions, but I think Caleb Williams might have a little bit of struggle at Lambeau Field. So I'm going to take him to throw an interception in this game. He's got 5 picks this year. 4 are in road games, and the Packers, we know they can get pressure. They're 9th in pressure rate, but they're bottom 5 in blitz rate, and they play zone at a top 7 rate, and they like to sit back in coverage and kind of wait for that mistake. And I think for Williams, I think he could turn it over because he has 13 turnover worthy plays this year, and 10 have come when he is not blitzed. And again, we're talking about how cold it's going to be, a cold as shit divisional game on the road. Definitely could see maybe even the second half, like you said, like a trailing game script, Sean, that maybe he's having to play a little bit of hero ball, and you start seeing him try to chuck it down there, and it just doesn't work out, and then he's basically doing like a punt essentially. So all right, so I'm going to take Caleb Williams for an interception. Raybon is on Tony Pollard under 49.5 rushing yards, and Sean Kerner is on Luther Burden over 3.5 receptions. Now, normally I like to do a touchdown bet here, but I'm going to be saving those for the end of the show. And of course, we're going to have more as we go. Grant Neefer is going to be joining us in a bit for a lotto parlay for week 14. And then, of course, at the end of the show, we'll have anytime touchdown bets. My guy Nick Giffen is going to join me to give out some of those props there. So, Raybon, Kerner, why don't you guys take a quick break? We'll get you back here in a minute. We'll talk about Sunday Night Football, but let's bring on Derek Carty now and see what player props he likes for week 14. We now welcome back to Action Playbook Live, Derek Carty, creator of the Blitz projections for the NFL. You can follow him in the Action app at Derek Carty. He's got 2 props for today, and you can follow him in the Action app at Derek Carty because those bets are going to be dropped in there, and you can grab the quick slip links in the YouTube chat as he gives out these picks because these prop lines, they may start to move as Derek gives them out. So, Derek, we start with Jacksonville, Indianapolis. What are you doing?
I'm looking at a Michael Pittman under here. Michael Pittman under 4.5 receptions, plus 113 is the best odds on the board at DraftKings right now. This one's a little scary because obviously Pittman is really good. He's been a focal point of this offense all year. He's had big games, but the blitz here is projecting 4.2, about a 59% chance of him going under. Part of this, I think, has to do with, 1, Daniel Jones being a little bit hurt. 2, his volume has been down, just an 18% target share in the last 3 weeks. And then predominantly, this game looks like it's going to be very messy. Rain game here, lots of rain. And that tends to both hurt offensive or passing efficiency, passing volume. So the under here for Pittman, I think, is the move.
And the emergence of Tyler Warren as well in this offense, along with even Alec Pierce, just taking away some of that. Because Pittman used to be a target share hound, in this offense at previous quarterbacks. But now with those two emerging, it's really difficult to get to that 5 reception plateau. And then also, I like Daniel Jones to throw an interception today. So that's where we're at when we're looking at this game between Indianapolis and Jacksonville. So the first pick from Derek is Michael Pittman under 4.5 receptions. We now move to the Cincinnati Buffalo game, arguably could be the game of the week. What are we looking at in this one?
I'm looking at another scary under. I'm looking at Josh Allen under 20 and a half completions, minus 119 at DraftKings are the best odds on the board right now. Another snow angle here, another weather angle, I guess, because this one is looking like it's going to be a bit of a snow game. The Blitz is projecting 16 and a half completions here for Allen, so good margin under the line. I think between the snow, between this being a really slow-paced game, and between Buffalo being almost full touchdown favorites here, they should be running the ball a good amount in this game, I think. So getting over 20 and a half completions for Allen just seems like a high bar at this point.
And dare I say it, the Bengals pass defense a little improved. They looked pretty good against the
Yeah.
Ravens last week too. So again, that just could bode well for Josh Allen to finish under 20 and a half completions. So let's go over these two bets again. So you were taking Michael Pittman under 4.5 receptions. You can get that at plus money at DraftKings right now. And also Josh Allen under 20 and a half completions. That's around minus 120 also at DraftKings. So Derek, thanks a lot for joining us this week. Make sure to follow him in the Action app at Derek Hardy. We'll see him back on Action Island on Monday for Monday Night Football. Thanks a lot.
All right. Good luck, guys.
Read up on this every week in the Action app, where he breaks down where the luckiest or the unluckiest NFL teams are based on what we saw on the field. Nick, I think we got to start with this Buffalo Bills Cincinnati Bengals game, because right now there's just a lot of weather going on. I just want to know, from a luck ranking standpoint, how do we apply that to this game?
Yeah, so this game is a strong luck under between Buffalo and Cincinnati. It has a luck total of minus 1.82. Anything below minus 1.8 is considered a strong luck under, and these have tended to hit at very high rates, above 60% to the under. And as you mentioned, weather here, some possible snow. It is not a heated field in Buffalo, so the snow should stick. It will be below freezing as well. And since their bye week 3 weeks ago, well, I said it played 3 games since the bye week, Cincinnati has, their defense has been much improved. They've actually been closer to, not quite, but closer to a league average defense. They're still below average, but that's better than the all-time worst ever, as they were sitting going into their bye week by DVOA. So if that stands, if this Cincinnati defense is really improved, then our schedule adjusted expected scores, which already have this at 53.8, with all those really bad games factored in from their defense, would probably make this more like 51 as the total or something like that. So I definitely think, that would be a factor. Now, obviously, you have Joe Burrow in, so that could bump it up as well. But I do think Joe Burrow versus this too high Bills safety defense, he's going to have to dink and dunk, and that could just eat a bunch of clock. So I like under 54 and a half anyway. So make sure to get that key number of 54 by getting under 54 and a half.
Yeah, and I think the key thing too that I think you want to make, or at least I want to address, is a lot of the time they'll say like, "Oh, they're taking under 54." Like, you're still expecting some points, but it's just not 55. So I think points will still be scored. And of course, we have Derek Carty, who's on the under 20 and a half completions for Josh Allen as well, so that would bode well for his prop as well. All right, let's move to the AFC West. I'm seeing a pick in here for Raiders Broncos. What are we doing?
So we are going to go to the Las Vegas Raiders +8 as the unlucky team here against their AFC West foes, the Denver Broncos. This is an A graded luck game. A grades, if you've been watching the show, these are the ones that tend to hit at near a 60% rate long term. So you definitely want to grab the A grades, especially this late in the season. Weeks 13 to 16 is typically the sweet spot for all of the luck sides. Doesn't matter what letter grade, but certainly A grades as well. And I put in a little note here. Bo Nix, he is terrible versus zone coverage. If you look at his splits versus man coverage defenses and versus zone coverage defenses, he's scoring. The Denver scoring output goes down by 5.5 points per game in terms of expected score. And the Raiders defense has, been bad, but they were really good against Bo Nix, and they play number one
Yeah, they
most
did.
zone in the NFL. They were really good versus Bo Nix the last time they met. They held him to 10 points. So, if they can keep this game low scoring, they should cover the +8.
Yeah, I mean, he did end up having one passing touchdown to Troy Franklin, but that game was like 10-7. Like it was a brutal watch especially if you're betting on like, overs or touchdown props or anything like that. But yeah, Raiders +8 right now, looking pretty good against this Denver Broncos. Let's now move to what I think is now shaping up to be the game of the week. I thought maybe Bills Bengals or maybe even Texans Chiefs might have been this one, but right now, Packers Bears, like there's a lot going on with this game. What are we doing with this one?
Yeah, we're gonna go Packers -6.5 as the unlucky team here in a luck rankings side. This is a C grade, so not the A grade that we had for Las Vegas, but C grades, and like I said, any letter grade at this time of year hits at a very high rate from weeks 13 to 16 traditionally. Obviously, no Roma Dunze, which is why Sean likes that Luther Burden prop, but that does impact the offense a little bit negatively. And Caleb Williams has a negative QB coverage matchup. Green Bay is pretty zone heavy, and he fares a little bit worse against zone coverages than man coverages. Kind of like Bo Nix, but not as drastic as Bo Nix. And also the Green Bay isn't as drastically zone heavy as the Raiders are. So you get the negative QB coverage matchup that helps you, Gilles, with your interception prop. So I think the best thing that helps everyone here is an early Caleb Williams pick six. That gets the Packers points. That gets you your bet covered on the interception, and then the Bears will have to start throwing the Luther Burden.
That sounds like a perfect scenario. That's what we
Yeah.
should be betting on right there. So Packers -6.5. That is the final luck rankings pick, along with Raiders +8 and the under in Buffalo, Cincinnati under 54.5. Make sure to get the under 54.5. All right. So that is the luck rankings with Dr. Nick Giffen. Make sure to follow him on the Action app, Nick_Giffen. Make sure to watch Bet What Happens Live. You can watch that in the Action Network Discord. And of course, he'll be on with Action Island with us as we keep going throughout the season. So also, he's going to be with us here very shortly. We're going to be doing some touchdown props here at the end of the show. So Nick, you hang tight. You come back with me. We'll do some touchdown props to round us out. All right, we now welcome in our Director of Research, Evan Abrams, my go-to guy when it comes to the latest betting trends and data, how the market is being impacted by that. You can check out his weekly betting primer on the Action Network app. It's got all the info you need going into Week 14. And Evan, I think we have to just start with just one word: weather. What are we looking at here and how the market is being affected?
Yeah, so across the board, a lot of games. I'll go through them quickly, and then I'll give you a little bit of a bet percentages outlier
Sure.
we have. But Indy, Jacksonville, probably the most prominent, I would guess. Rain and lightning, total as high as 49.5, now down to 45.5. Honestly, might just pour all game, but as we get closer to kickoff, it actually feels like it's getting a little bit lighter. But again, 2 hours, we'll see what happens. The other game, Tennessee, Cleveland. Now, you look at the total, you see 33.5. What the heck's going on here? Well, not just the QB play, there's a few things as well. Temperature around freezing, winds about 10 miles an hour, snow showers in the area. The thing that's interesting is since 2020, when you get towards the lowest key number, which is pretty much 37, when you get under that mark, still 31 and 15 to the under. So I know
Wow.
Brandon Anderson, a bunch of other people interested in the under in this one. One great note from Kevin Roth, who obviously works with us here at Action Network, but Cleveland has a heated field, mentioned as well in this show, but could help a little bit in terms of the weather. So we'll see what happens there. Three more for you. Cincinnati, Buffalo. Pretty good chance for snow. Temperatures around 30 degrees, around 9-mile-an-hour winds. Interesting enough, though, total has moved from 51.5 to 54.5.
I saw
Bettors
that.
do not give one crap about the weather in this game. They see Burrow, they see Allen, they say points. So see what happens there. Two more. Chicago, Green Bay. Cold, 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 cold. 14 degrees, 12 degrees. It's just going to be absolutely frigid all game long. So that's the storyline there. Go Luther Burden. And then last one, New Orleans, Tampa. Now seeing some rain, actually. So that actually might be more prominent leading up till kickoff. Total has gone from 44.5 to 41.5. Now, one more for you. Going back to that Chicago Green Bay game.
Yeah.
Chicago right now, sitting at 78% of tickets on the road in Green Bay as an underdog. So this season, Chicago's high is 69%, but forget that. They haven't closed at 74% or higher since 2014. Not only the Bears record, but they're just a popular side today. I don't think people care about Rome Odunze. I don't know if they know he's not playing.
Yeah.
But honestly, at this point, they're one of the more high bet underdogs in terms of the money line and people taking the points. People just think it's too high. So crazy stuff. I'll say this: after the Cowboys fell apart on Thursday Night Football, teams getting 60% of tickets or more, according to Action Network, 46 and 79 against the spread this season. 37%. It's been 500 or under 12 or 13 weeks. So it's been an absolute bloodbath. But that's not a predictor of the future. So we will see what happens this week.
Well, that's a lot to take in. And so from a weather report standpoint, like I always find it interesting when when we're watching like pregame shows and you see the correspondent on the field and you just see the snow falling and that immediately just makes you think like, oh shit, there's probably going to be no scoring today. And then of course we'll see a ton of points. But the Bears Packers one is really interesting, just given the fact that they're going to be on the road, the fact that it's cold as shit, the fact that they're missing their best wide receiver and that's still getting 80% of tickets, is not where I would have thought the Chicago Bears would be today at this point. So very interesting to see how this market is unfolding here. But let's talk about just Super Bowl odds, because that was one thing that we talked about off air, just that there's a lot of, I don't want to use the word parity because there are some teams that are obviously way better than others, but at the top, it doesn't really feel like there's that one, number one contender. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's just a lot of teams near the top of the board. And also to just kind of hit off what you said before, they call that the Sal Pal effect. When Sal Pal came on air and they got all the snow behind him. Yeah, and the total starts dropping. That was a good fun one back in the day. But let's talk Super Bowl futures. So entering week 14, we have 17 teams listed below 50-1 odds to win the Super Bowl, which is the most for any season dating back to at least 2010. Even a little deeper, we have 10 teams currently listed below 20-1. That is also the most since 2010. So when you talk about contenders, not knowing who is, top notch, top team, in terms of tiers, this and that, that's kind of what we're looking at this year. It's going to be fun. Today, as we've talked about, leverage spots in terms of division and games. This is a extremely, extremely exciting week in the NFL. So we will see what happens, but lots of contenders entering the slate.
And that's the one thing I was going to say is those 10 teams. The one thing about them is we can all find one thing. Like, you know what I mean? That is, it makes you a little iffy about whether or not you want to back them to win the Super Bowl, right? Like if you were feeling good about the Eagles, you might not feel great about the offense. If you're feeling good about, the Broncos, you might not feel great about Bo Nix and that offense, right? Like there's just a lot of, every team kind of has that one little thing I find in comparison to years past. So that's probably why we're seeing the odds play out this way. All right, let's talk about Bet Labs, Evan, quickly. Bet Labs is obviously able to come up with a lot of systems and ways to be able to attack these markets. And right now there is a Bet Labs pick of the week. What is it pointing to for this week?
Yeah, I literally just plucked one out. There's about 4 or 5 in there. They're adding more till kickoff, but I got to go with the ugliest bet on the board because it's kind of what we do as bettors. Minnesota Vikings plus 1.5, getting shut out. Now we're back, getting some points, new quarterback. But I will say this: teams after getting shut out since 2015, 33 and 17 against the spread, 3-0 this season. It is difficult to bet a team after scoring 0. But against Washington, Jaden's back, maybe a little bit of rust there. So Minnesota Vikings will bet with 9 today, getting the 1.5.
Well, it might not be the ugliest bet of the week. When we talk with Grant Neefer here in a little bit, he's got a little bit of a Vikings angle that he's playing as well. So that might curb that ugliness. But again, like you said, 3-0 against the spread this year when teams are shut out. So we could see a nice bounce back at home against the Commanders. The lone, I believe, dome game played today outside of between Cardinals and Rams. So, all right. So, Evan, thanks for coming on this week. Again, if you're wanting to hear more about this, check out his weekly betting primer. Again, it's pinned on his X Twitter profile. He's also going to be live tonight with Brandon Anderson for the Week 14 recap show. I watch that every Monday morning just to be able to get caught up because sometimes there's so many games that I just kind of forget about those key developments here. So, Evan, thanks a lot. We'll see you again next week.
See you later.
All right, let's take it up a notch. Time to hit the lotto. And I mentioned Grant Niefer's got some ugliness on deck, but this is where we try to get a little crazy. We find that plus EV parlay where the ugliness can turn into prettiness, right? So joining me, like I said, Grant Niefer from Scores and Odds. You can find him in the Parlay Science Discord. He's dropping bets every day. He's tracking bets in the Action Network app. And of course, Sean Kerner is going to come in here with a Triple Crown prop who was just oh so short. Max Brosmer, I don't know if I'll ever forgive him for that, or Jordan Addison for that matter. But let's start with Grant. Grant, what kind of prop load are we going to do for Week 14?
Oh yeah, as you alluded to, we got a fun one. 40 to
Yeah.
1 unboosted. You can use the 20% boost over on DK, get it to 50 to 1. And the first leg is a quarterback who some people have ranked outside of the top 60 quarterbacks in the NFL, has never thrown for 250 plus yards, but today might be the day. You can get it plus 451. That quarterback is JJ McCarthy. Yes, I know he's been terrible. Yes, I know he's looked terrible. Yes, I know they're probably faking injuries to keep him off the field. I do not care. His matchups so far this season have been very tough. He hasn't had an O-line that's been healthy all season long, and now Darisaw is coming back. Jackson should be coming back. This might be the second game this season where the entire offensive line has been healthy. He has JJ or Justin Jefferson to throw to. He has Addison to throw to. He has Hawkinson to throw to. He has the weapons. He has a good coach. And I know it's been an absolute disaster for Minnesota all season long, but he's now facing one of the worst pass Ds in the league. Daniel's coming back. They're probably going to be forced into a throwing game script. McCarthy, 250 plus. I hit it up to 300 plus at 13 to 1, but went a little bit less ballsy on this one. Next leg, RJ Harvey, 25 plus receiving yards. You can get it plus 229, 230, and all the way up to 250 in some spots. I hit this all the way up to 40 plus. Harvey, the number one receiver, he's a running back, but number one yards per route run going up against the zone. Nick Giffen mentioned that the Raiders run zone at the highest rate in the league.
Sir.
I know he only had 8 yards versus them last time they played a few weeks ago. I'm not expecting the same thing there. No Dobbins, so he's going to get a decent amount of run here. This line is far too low for a guy who's had 27, 20, and 51 receiving yards in his last 4 games. So this line far too low. And lastly, a guy that no one's really going to like betting for a touchdown, but I'm throwing him in here. Chase Brown plus 135. I know he only has scored in 2 games this season, but there is snow on the ground. They might keep it on the ground a little bit more. The Bills have been absolutely horrendous versus the run this year. Most touchdowns given up. And Chase Brown, while he doesn't have a ton of touchdowns, he's getting volume, especially in recent week. Last 3 weeks, 15, 19, 18 carries, and 2 of those were in losses, one of which was a pretty big blowout. So he's probably going to end up getting volume in this one. They'll give him some touches inside the red zone. Odds at plus money, even though it hasn't worked out well all season. This is a great spot here. So parlay all 3 of them together, get 40 to 1, 50 to 1 if you use that 20% boost over on DK. Let's go, JJ.
So RJ Harvey doesn't seem that crazy at all. 25 plus receiving yards. He's definitely been a receiving back. It's his backfield. I mean, at this point, I know that there's been times where Sean Payton will use, Audric Estime or Julian McLaughlin or whatever, but RJ Harvey is the guy here. And Chase Brown touchdown doesn't seem that crazy at all, especially in a game where I think passing could be affected and they might have to run a little bit more. And really, it just comes down to, can JJ McCarthy have an average game, in the end? Can he just have an average game? And then this parlay is looking amazing, right? So I think that's really what it comes down to, especially playing against that Commanders secondary that plays a lot of man coverage. I think he could beat some, or Jettis and Addison could beat them downfield where he could get some long. So the parlay at boosted at DraftKings is just under 50 to 1. It's around 49.92. So that is Grant's Lotto parlay for Week 14. We now move to the Triple Crown market with Sean. And he is targeting the Cardinals-Rams game for a Triple Crown. What are we doing, Sean?
Yeah, so going with the Triple Crown play again this week. Obviously, Brosmer was awful, but that nearly cashed. If he just completed that one pass to Addison, who dropped it, we very really likely get there. So again, we don't really care about numbers. It's just about who leads the game in passing, rushing, and receiving yards. So yeah, this Cardinals-Rams game, I'm going to start off just taking Jacoby Brissett to lead the game in passing yards. The Cards just really haven't messed around establishing the run at all. They're probably going to throw early and often here to keep up with the Rams. I do expect the Rams, to get off to a bigger lead, and then we just see Brissett sling it around the fourth quarter, and who he's going to be throwing it to has gotten very narrow because the Cardinals are down 5 receivers now.
Yeah.
So Michael Wilson's basically the last man standing. So I'm going to go with him to lead the game in receiving yards. If you want, you could pivot to someone like McBride, but those two are going to see a ton of targets here. And then, if I were to do, Kyron Williams to lead the game in rushing yards, this would be 3-1. This is the lotto segment, so I'm going to go with my guy Blake Corum to lead the game in rushing yards to make this 23-1 in that range. But I consider Blake Corum one of the best, if not the best, backup running back in the league. And I think the Rams are going to start to kind of limit Kyron a bit down the stretch here to keep him fresh for the playoffs. So we saw last week Corum actually led the team in rushing yards with 81 with just 7 carries. So if they do get up big in the fourth quarter, Corum could go wild. So I kind of think this is pretty correlated with these three. And then another wrinkle, if 23-1 isn't good enough for you, another wrinkle is to throw in Xavier Smith. 20 plus receiving yards would make it 60-1. But I think that correlates as well because he's kind of a new wrinkle in this Rams passing attack. Tends to see just, downfield targets. So if he does catch a longer pass, that's going to eat into Puka Nakua's receiving yards, which helps, Michael Wilson lead the game in receiving yards, but could also, lead them to getting up earlier in the game and lead to, more Blake Corum touches later in the game. So I think that correlates nicely and, again, makes it a nice 60-1 if you add that wrinkle in there.
What a world we live in now, Kerner, where we can give out a 23-1 parlay and people be like, it's not good enough. I know it's correlated, but it's not good enough for me. But either way, I still love this. So Jacoby Brissett, like the passing offense has just taken off since he's taken over. Michael Wilson, like you said, no Marvin Harrison. Greg Dortch is on IR, so he's the last man standing. And Kyron Williams was dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury last week. He did miss some practice this week. So like you said, they might try to limit some of that volume, right? So Blake Corum could definitely get in there. So that's the Triple Crown market for Kerner with Jacoby Brissett, Michael Wilson, Blake Corum. You can get that at 23-1. If you want to get it even spicier, you can add in Xavier Smith to have 20 plus receiving yards, just under 60-1. So Grant, you've got the prop lotto. Sean, you got the Triple Crown. Quick slip links for both of these have been dropped in the YouTube chat. So if you want to tail either of those, that'll take you directly to the sportsbook. So Grant, thank you again. Keep crushing it. We'll see you back on Action Island soon enough, and along with Bet What Happens Live with Nick in the Action Network Discord. All right, Kerner, let's get Raybon back on here because I want to talk about Sunday Night Football, talk about this Texans-Chiefs game because Chiefs minus 3.5, totals around 41.5, expected to be super cold in Kansas City tonight. But I want to build the same game parlay. Now, when we did the Touchdown Show podcast, we did 3 touchdown props. Kerner, are you going to do another touchdown prop for this one, or are you looking somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my guy here, Jaden Higgins at plus 380 to score a touchdown. And similar to Luther Burden, Higgins is a second-round rookie who had, really slow start in the first half of the season, but he's been trending up of late. Clearly the number 2 wide receiver in this offense, finally, and commanding a huge target share. He has a 29% target rate over the last 4 games. And I comped him similar to T. Higgins. He's the same size, 6'4", 215, and could be a nice touchdown threat as, the number 2 wide receiver on the team across from Nico Collins. So I'm projecting him closer to plus 300. So still like the value we're getting with Higgins at plus 380 here.
Yeah, Higgins is my favorite touchdown prop for this game. I just recorded a Sunday Night Football video for this, and I've got Higgins as well. So I'm with you right now. I think you could even get him maybe even around 4-1, but anything over plus 350, I love Jaden Higgins in this game. Raybon, are you sticking with the touchdown prop that you gave out on the Touchdown Show podcast, or do you have another angle you want to take?
No, I'm sticking with Noah Gray here. Like him, he's a little bit undervalued, I think, because he's coming off the concussion, but he should be a full go. He's off the injury report, and Houston, just a very good outside perimeter defending team against the pass. So I expect the Chiefs to have to go, inside a little bit more, underneath a little bit more. You look at the, last 5 games, Houston's only given up 5 touchdowns to wide receivers on the year, just 7, and they've given up 4 to tight ends. So usually that split is a little more in favor of wide receivers. So 3 touchdowns to tight ends for Houston allowed in the last 5 games. I think Noah Gray can sneak in here.
Well, I think Travis Kelce's just probably going to be busy doing a wedding plan or something right now. He's going to be distracted for this game. So Noah Gray seems like a really solid spot here, especially we watched Tyler Warren score on this defense last week as well. So tight ends have been somewhat effective. Now, I am going to flip flop. Initially, when we did the show on Thursday, I took Woody Marks, but I've now switched my opinion. I'm going with Kareem Hunt instead. I think that's who I prefer in this spot. 8 touchdowns this year. I know Pacheco is back, but he has shown that he is the clear goal line back for the Chiefs this year. Top 10 in the NFL in carries inside the 10-yard and 5-yard lines. And you guys just brought up like the Texans just so strong against the pass, especially on the outside. I just want to stick with, the rushing attack. So I'm just going to stick with Hunt to score again. And right now, if you parlay those three, so that'd be Jaden Higgins, Noah Gray, Kareem Hunt. Boys, I'm seeing 100 to 1 right now at
Wow.
DraftKings for this parlay, 95 to 1 at FanDuel. We just dropped the quick step link in the YouTube chat if you want to tail this parlay for Sunday Night Football between Texans Chiefs. All right, guys. You're all set for today. We're gonna see you guys next week. You guys do the Fantasy Flex podcast 3 times a week. Also, as I mentioned, Touchdown Show podcast. 3 of us, we do that every Thursday night. That's touchdown bets for all games in Week 14. So you can check that out on the Action Network podcast feed. But now it is time. We're gonna take it up a notch on the touchdowns. It's time to bring my guy back, Nick Giffen, because it's time for the Touchdown Show. And what better person to bring on than my OG co-host of the Touchdown Show. When we did this in 2022, Nick, it was me and you, and we were crushing touchdown props. You crush them as always. You always find sharp angles and edges. So for anyone who hasn't watched before, how we do it, we start off with the lowest odds, we work our way up. So Nick, why don't you go first?
All right, let's go to New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and I'm going to take Emeka Egbuka plus 140 for an anytime touchdown. I love this one here. The New Orleans Saints, they allow the second highest share of targets to go out wide versus in the slot. And, with Chris Godwin now in and playing, Egbuka should be lining up out wide more than 75% of the time, probably 80% of the time. So a lot of targets are just going to be going to Egbuka this weekend. And the matchups don't scare me. I mean, he's almost matchup proof anyway, but certainly this matchup doesn't scare me. Let's get him in the end zone.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing inactives right now. Tristan Wirfs going to be out for the Bucks in this game as well, so they might have to lean a little bit more on the pass as well, just because if the running game is not as effective. So Emeka Egbuka, that is Nick's first pick. I am going to the Jaden Higgins comp. I'm going with T Higgins. He's around plus 190. Leads the team with 8 end zone targets, 7 touchdowns. I mean, Joe Burrow is back. I just think the passing upside in this game is going to be through the roof for him. Now, am I still on the luck under with you as well at 54.5? Sure. But I still think there's going to be points in this game. And then the other thing, too, is that when Joe Burrow is in this lineup, he tends to force feed Jamar Chase. 10 plus targets usually when he's in the lineup. But I think the Bills are going to try to do a little bit more of a zone bracket defense, try to make them force the ball elsewhere. I think that's just going to open up more one-on-one matchups for Higgins, and Higgins has been pretty effective in that role. So that's going to be my first touchdown bet. You are now moving, Nick, to the Jacksonville-Indianapolis game with some weather in this one. What are we doing?
Yeah, I had to pivot a little here. I had Ollie Gordon in this, but he was plus 525 yesterday, and now that's long gone. So had to pivot. It's not as long odds as I would like for the medium pick, but I'm going to go Michael Pittman plus 205. I love Pittman. I know it's opposite Derek Carty, but I laddered Pittman receptions all the way up to 9. And that's because this Jacksonville Jaguars defense, number 1 in the NFL in allowing targets to outside wide receivers. And I mean, the last time Pittman faced a defense that allowed a really high rate of targets to the outside wide receivers was the number 2 team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he had 12 targets, 9 receptions. The other thing about Jacksonville is they're a zone-heavy team. They play top 10, really like 7th or 5th around, zone, depending on if you want to look full season or the last half of the season. And Alec Pierce, great receiver, great outside receiver, but his target share is so much higher versus man coverage than it is for zone coverage. So if you're going to be throwing to the outsides, this is going to be the Pittman possession game with the rain, right? Instead of throwing these deep balls, I think Michael Pittman is going to be leaned on heavily here in this spot. And his target share has been down, but he's faced 2 slot, I should say two teams, Kansas City and Houston, that just allow one of the lowest rates to outside receivers and more towards the slot. So I love Michael Pittman here. Give me his touchdown plus 205.
Yeah, and I mean, you laddered his receptions too. So, I mean, you're really high on him in this matchup, and I can see why. And I actually like the quarterback on the other side in that game. I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence. He's around plus 425. I joked with Raybon about this, that this might be like a legacy game for Trevor Lawrence, and he immediately was mad that I brought that up because he's on Jacksonville to cover this week. But I still like him to score a touchdown, and he's really trending up in those short yardage situations near the goal line. He's third amongst all quarterbacks and carries inside the 5 yard line this season, basically behind Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts with 3 rushing touchdowns. Like a lot of quarterbacks, his scramble rate tends to take a jump when he sees pressure. And the Colts, they are top 5 in pressure per drop back, bottom 5 in DPI penalties. So again, I just think with the stakes of this game, I think Trevor Lawrence might be a little more assertive and go for his shot for an anytime touchdown. So that is my next pick. All right, now let's spice it up here. Let's do some long shots. What do you like now?
Yeah, I got 2 here for you. You can throw a little sprinkle on in double-digit odds. The first, I'm going to go back to that Las Vegas Raiders game. I already took Trey Tucker because his odds were too long, but I'm not going Trey Tucker. I'm going his wide receiver teammate, Jack Besh. Besh had a 50% route share last week in the first game without offensive coordinator Chip Kelly since he got fired. And Denver plays the second most man coverage when Pat Surtain is involved in this offense, right? If you remove the weeks he was out, Denver played a lot of zone when he was out. But in the games Surtain plays, a lot of man coverage for Denver. Besh more than doubles his targets per route run and yards per route run versus man than zone coverage. Second one I'm going to is for the Sunday Night Football game. You guys already gave out 3. I'm going to give out another, even though I like the under in that game. CJ Stroud, 13-1 for a touchdown. If you watch Action Island or one of our other shows, right, we talked about Trevor Lawrence scrambling in for touchdowns versus Kansas City. That's what you do versus the Chiefs. Quarterbacks scramble. CJ Stroud has 20 scrambles on 121 dropbacks under pressure this year. So he's scrambling a lot when he's pressured. Kansas City, 7th highest pressure rate over expectation. And they're also top 3 in scramble rate over expectation when you adjust for the quarterbacks they've faced. So give me Stroud, touchdown 13-1. Heck, I'm even sprinkling 60-1 for first touchdown.
Wow. And that's the thing too with Stroud. There could even be some opportunities for rushing yard ladders as well. Because even in previous matchups, like last year, he ran for like 60 yards against them as well. So yeah, CJ Stroud at 13-1. I love that bet. Okay, so right now the total in that Bills Bengals game, it's actually going up now. Right now I'm seeing 55, and looking at some of the reports, like the snow is insane right now. So I'm gonna double down. I'm taking T Higgins for 2 touchdowns. I grabbed it at 15-1. So I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but I just know he's had some big games in his career, and I just think the Bills secondary is a bit overrated. So if there's even a potential for a trailing game script with an explosive passing offense, I'm going to take T Higgins in that spot. Now this one, I tracked it last night. This is the Ollie Gordon situation. I tracked it at 14-1 last night. He dropped to plus 750. I'm still going to take it, but Josh Weil at anytime touchdown is around plus 750 for the Packers. And even though he dropped from 14-1 to plus 750, I'm still seeing in our Action Pro touchdown projections that it still has a 3% edge at plus 750. And Kerner gave out this pick on the Touchdown Show podcast. Like basically, he's been operating as the tight end 1 in this offense. He had the highest route participation of any Packers tight end last week. He caught a touchdown earlier in the season versus the Giants. Bears pass defense has been pretty rough. 24 passing touchdowns allowed so far, 22nd in defensive DVOA versus the tight end. So I just think the Packers tight end room has just been so in flux ever since Tucker Kraft went down with, Josh Weil, and Musgrave hasn't really emerged from that as well. Fitzpatrick is a big target, but even he's not really catching any touchdowns. So I'm going to take Josh Wiley here at plus 750 to round that out. But let's do the parlay here, because I think, Nick, you and I both agree, because I like Emeka Ibuka as well. So I think he's going to have to be the first leg on this parlay. I love T. Higgins. T. Higgins is my favorite touchdown prop of the week, so I'm going to put that with Ibuka. But what do you think about us going on after that CJ Stroud long shot? Like right now, I'm seeing 89-1 at FanDuel for that. And I almost I love Jaden Higgins in that game, but I was almost going to do CJ Stroud as a long shot for that game. So what do you think of this parlay of Ibuka, Higgins, and CJ Stroud at 89-1 at FanDuel?
Yeah, let's get those two easier legs out of the way in the 1 p.m. slate and then wait for Sunday Night Football. Nick, you're crazy. CJ Stroud hasn't scored a touchdown since 2023. I don't
Yeah.
care. He's still running the ball. He just hasn't found the end zone. He had 52 carries last year. He already has 30 this year. Like I said, 20 scrambles. He's scrambling when he's under pressure. Kansas City high pressure team. I think this is where we hit a almost 90-1 parlay.
Beautiful. All right. So if you want to tail that parlay, so that is Emeka Ibuka, T.E. Higgins, and C.J. Stroud, 89-1 at FanDuel. We just dropped the link in the YouTube chat, the quick slip link that'll take you directly to a sportsbook where you could tail that parlay. So that is the touchdown show for week 14. And that's all for us for Action Playbook Live. We're going to be back here every Sunday from now until the Super Bowl at 11 a.m. Eastern, live on the Action Network YouTube channel and on Playbook Live, or Playbook rather, on X and Twitter. Now, if you missed the show, you want to get our picks, you could just download the Action app. All of our bets are tracked there. You get them as soon as we bet them with pick notifications. So I want to thank you again for joining us for Action Playbook Live for NFL Week 14. Bon chance.